Joining me now is Rahul Manchanda. He's an attorney specializing in immigration law. Sir, welcome to our show. Let's first of all look at this deal. President Trump said this is a new deal. It is a great deal. But some critics said those are merely old deals, old commitments agreed to months ago. Who's telling the truth?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think also, which is really striking about this is really one of the first times that we've seen on a global scale the Trump administration embracing the concept of globalism or internationalism rather than sort of jingoism or nationalism and sort of cutting yourself off from the world in this sort of MAGA, Make America Great Again sort of concept. And I think it's reality. The fact of the matter is that even though his base core supporters seem to be the ones that are sort of pushing this sort of relationship with Mexico in terms of cutting off the illegal migrants, I think for the first time the administration had to sort of deal and grapple with the fact that you have to work with foreign governments, and that may even mean treaties or giving funding or whatever the case may be. You just can't cut off other nations, build walls, and just walk away and hope that the problem will correct itself. So there are dialogues and negotiations going on now with the internal sort of infrastructure of Mexico. The 6,000 National Guards, for example, has been increased and augmented, but I think also discussions are going on with Guatemala, which is the nation bordering the southern border of Mexico. So this is truly an international effort wherein the United States is actually being forced to work with other nations internally and with funding and treaties, private and public, rather than just pulling out of treaties, which has been the hallmark of the Trump administration for a very long time.
Well, President Trump said if it is President Obama made the deals that I have made, the corrupt media would be hailing them as incredible and a national holiday would be immediately declared. That's what President Trump said. Do you agree?
I think that there is it's the Twitter, it's the shock value of things in his Twitter feed that he likes to say. I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but I think what's actually striking here is that we're realizing and recognizing that America can't just cut itself off. For 70 years plus, the United States has had a guiding hand in changing and uprooting nations all around the world. And for it to just suddenly stop the merry-go-round and walk away, well, it's time to rebuild and still engage with the international community was a huge mistake. And I think that the rest of the world will then move forward, replacing the role that the U.S. once played. So it's a very big mistake to walk away from 70 years plus of history, where, for better or for worse, getting involved in other countries and other nations, and then just saying, you know what, we're going to stop and cut off and build walls and make America great again. That's sort of a mistake. I think he's being forced to contend with the fact that globalism and internationalism is here to stay, and we need to stay engaged with the world and deal with our other nations, and not just tariff and sanction countries ad infinitum.
And then on the substance of this deal with Mexico, President Trump tweeted that additional parts of the deal, and one in particular, were not announced on Friday, but will be at the appropriate time. What could that new part of the deal possibly be?
Well, you know, for example, there was a clause at the end of the agreement of the fact that Trump is supposedly monitoring the migrant flows across the border, and that tariffs could kick in again, that they were merely suspended, that this was not an agreement. But the Mexican protocol, the migrant protocols agreement is what this is called, was actually struck by and between Kirstjen Nielsen, former DHS secretary, and Ms. Sanchez, the Mexican counterpart, and as well as McCallany. There are some issues in there that probably are not being released to the public, but they may probably involve issues relating to funding, and the U.S. possibly providing funding for certain issues that they would not be willing to make public at this moment, and maybe vice versa.
Rahul Manchanda, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.